meeting of the August 8th Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of East Ridge to order. Mitch has agreed. Oh, my goodness. I was reading my, okay, let's get started again. Oh, I was reading the prior one. Okay. Okay, let's call this meeting in order, and this is the November 14th Board of Appeals, City of East Ridge meeting. And I've asked Mitch if he'll give the invocation, if we're all rise for that.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity that we have to serve this city. Thank you for those representing the city that are here with us. Just pray that you would give us guidance as we make decisions tonight that impact citizens and families of our area, Lord. And just thank you for this opportunity again. Just pray that you would just guide conversation, decisions made. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mitch. We do not do the Pledge of Allegiance, but we should, but we're not tonight. Although, Melissa, if you'll do the roll call.
Board Member Pendley. Board Member Pendley. Here. Board Member Qualls.
Here.
Board Member Sharp. Here. Board Member Zitzel.
Here.
Chairperson Leach.
Here. We do have minutes from, and we'll get this right this time, August 8th meeting for your review. If you'll just take a few moments and review those minutes, and then I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve minutes from August the 8th.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. Okay, so we can dispose of August 8th, can't we? Okay, good. Just to notice, and Mark had mentioned this, the city attorney, I'm sorry, had mentioned this, that Mike Howell has left the City of East Ridge as the chief building official to take a position as a building official in Whitfield County. We will miss him. He was indeed a part of this, our deliberations many times. Mark is going to represent the staff tonight as part of this meeting. One thing we could do, the applicant is not here, correct? Counselor, I don't know how much of this meeting we can go through if the applicant is not here, if we can just run the meeting as if they were here. We've got the information from them. But this might be it's going to be an interesting discussion. I would value your recommendation for us.
Property, the applicant, they've got notice, I mean.
I texted Tori because she's the one that was handling it. She said that Miss Pitts knew it was tonight and that she was to be here
At 5:30 and not.
at 5:30.
You know, it's one of those that if there's nothing crucial, I mean, you can hear it, you entitled to hear it, and with proper notice, good. I tend to take somewhat of a deferential review for property that maybe one time, if you want to pass it one time. You know, I've looked at this, the letter from Mr. Lee stated, the 9th of November, which really laid down all of the items here. I'd like to hear from the applicant as to what impact or what response they have to the issues that they raised here. So certainly, you know, with respect specifically to the 1310 West Avenue
Yeah.
property, that's the big one that's not going to be in compliance even with the license record.
All right.
So
I've got some observations, and I can go over that for the staff. It doesn't involve a vote. It's just my observations on this. I really wrestled with this for the last couple of weeks, ever since I got noticed about it. So let me just go through that, Counselor, if you don't object to that, and I will discuss some of what I think is a background to this. We do have a continuing ed that we'll do after that, and So let me just make some observations on this. If the applicant is not here, I don't think it's not anything that I think they would be nervous about. So this is what I wrote up, and I'm going to kind of read, I don't usually do this, but I'll kind of read my observations about this case. Thank you, Counselor. This is sort of the existing situation. You always want to start with the fact base. We have a house and an accessory building on 2 lots of record. And I put in my notes what a lot of record was and how it's defined. It's really out of the subdivision regulations. So if you had an opportunity to look at my letter to y'all, it did explain what a lot of record is. It just means it's a recorded lot at a certain point in time. And it's, in this case, it was Plat Book 9, page 19, which is a very old plat, probably done in the 20s, maybe 30s. Lot 5 and 6, Block 5 of the Oak Park subdivision, Plat Book 9, page 19. So that's a very old plat. And each lot in this discussion tonight is a 50 by 150 foot lot, which is 7,500 square feet, which is below the current standard of 10,000 square feet in the ordinance. The total site area, of course, would be 15,000 square feet, which is really how it's taxed at this point in time, because what the tax assessor does is, from what I understand, is they just combine lots that are owned, contiguous lots that are owned many times into a single lot. And I looked up the tax records on this just to verify when the house was built. It was built about 1930, and that house is on. If you'll look at your site plans, I tried to do enhanced site plans for you, and I tried to outline the lots so you could figure out what I was talking about. So there's 2 lots of record, and if you'll look on Exhibit 1 from your document, there is 2 50-foot lots, frontage lots, 1 50-foot deep, and those are called lots of record, and they're buildable lots. You can build on those lots any day of the week. So you've got the existing house. If you'll look on Lot 5, you've got an existing house totally within that lot of record, Lot 5. Now, the other lot is, which it's a 50 by 150 foot, doesn't have any of the house on it, but it has half this structure on the back. And it was a structure. I asked if they knew when that structure was built. The house was built in 1930, and the accessory building to the rear, it was bisected by lots 5 and 6. So obviously the former owner didn't observe the property lines. They just built that structure wherever they wanted to do in the backyard. But again, I couldn't, and Mike reviewed it with me. There's no information really about when that thing was built and to what standard it was built. It was just basically an accessory building to the rear. In my estimation, the property owner has 4 options to do. He can maintain she can maintain the status quo. In other words, just leave it like it is. You've got a house, accessory building on 2 lots. It would just go forward just like it is today in perpetuity. The second is to re-subdivide and eliminate that center lot line. So you'd have one single lot with a house and accessory structure on it. So that was one option that they've got. A third option is to tear down the accessory building on the rear of the property. And if you do that, then you've cleared up that lot. You can sell that lot, or you can build a house on that lot. So they do have a remedy for building another house. The third option, or the fourth option, I'm sorry, is re-subdivide as proposed, and it's on the documentation is Exhibit 2 into that. We'll say one lot. Oh well, we'll call it Lot 5 then. Lot 5 is then now got the extension back to the rear, but it's the other portion is a flag lot with a frontage 25 feet, which meets standard, to the flag portion, which has the accessory building on it. That's what they initially have desired to do, but they could tear down that accessory building and still do a flag lot. But at that point, what's what's the purpose of the flag lot, you know? I mean, it doesn't make any difference. The staff has, the building code staff here has determined there are several issues related to the accessory building. And again, I mentioned, in talking with staff, they really don't know when it was built, and they don't know what it was built to, what standards. The proposed flag lot utilizing the accessory building as a house, you could not have an accessory building on an individual flag lot. In other words, this accessory building, as depicted on Exhibit 2, would have to be turned into a house. You couldn't have just an accessory building on a single-family lot. It's not within the zoning ordinance. It doesn't allow the standalone accessory buildings on R1 zone lot. We actually had gone through that whole process on a house on a building site on Missionary Ridge where they wanted to put an accessory building up, but is that the, not the, okay. So anyway, at that point, the lot, as it stands today, you'd have to build a house back on that lot, either try to use that existing structure or build a new house, because it has to be residential used. The question is, and this is really for staff, building staff, it's a building, this is more of a building codes question, but can that accessory building be actually converted to a house? Mike has written us a letter before he left, and it's in your file, I think. What's the date on that letter? The date on the letter is October 28th, 2022. It was addressed to me, but it's addressed to you also. And his observations about that particular structure, and I can quote in part. He did conduct a site visit. It contains a single-family dwelling, which is what we've talked about with that detached accessory structure. And notice that he's calling it an accessory structure. He's not calling it a house. An additional slab was poured connecting the existing accessory structure slab, creating a larger footprint. Additional square footage added was framed out as a bedroom along with a non-code complying hallway. It's missing a second means of egress from structure, missing door headers, interior load-bearing walls, along with possible violation of means egress from rooms. Unable to determine if accessory structure footings, if any, were designed to meet code requirements at time of build, or if a newly poured slab meets current adopted code requirements of the City of East Ridge. Design of the accessory structure was that of a detached garage and not a secondary living unit. And this comes to point, I think, in the, we'll put this in evidence. Okay. This comes to a point because it is a codes issue, but the whole reason for this, the subdivision and the variance is based on the fact they want to convert that building to a house. So that's really what it came down to. When I finally got thinking through all of it, it's not if the flag lot was good or bad. It's not if the lot sizes were adequate or not. It was really the whole reason for this meeting tonight and for these variance requests are to convert that to a building that meets code. One of the things, and I was talking to the building staff the other day about it, and I had missed it, but they had caught it, is this structure is in the 100-year flood, and as you all know, in East Ridge, there are issues with the 100-year flood, and there is a requirement that the lowest habitable floor must be elevated to 1 foot above the base flood elevation if substantial improvements are made, and that's the key point here. From what Mike said, and I'm reading into his letter that we put in evidence, from what Mike has said, that this would take a tremendous amount of work to get this to code. Tremendous amount. I mean, we're starting, we don't know anything about the foundation or footings, but Mike specified enough issues with this structure. Is it really worth trying to save that structure? Because we would have to grant a variance on the flood elevations too in order for them to be able to build it, reconstruct it below flood elevation. And I'm not going to get into that because really those are code elements, but that just tells you that the purpose of this variance request is, if it's based on the accessory building being able to be converted to a residence, that's a very long stretch in my opinion. This is my opinion only. So I think that's pertinent to our discussion, whether or not this thing could actually be converted to a residential structure. As I understand from the building code office, they were in there trying to make some improvements, windows and some other things, and they basically got caught by the codes folks because they weren't permitted to do anything in there. So anyway, that's some observations I had about this case, because I was trying to really figure out what was the center portion of this case. It was really built around the variances and the lot size related issues were really related to that structure back there. Could they save that structure and make a residential house out of it? So that is, again, that's a code issue. We can't really get into that. Our two issues are really, if you look at your your agenda, if you'll look at that, it says request from Alley Pitts for a variance to reduce lot sizes. So we have a lot size issue, and then we have an issue with setbacks, which is B. A is all about the lot sizes for both lots, and B is the issue with the height and area regulations, which is all the setbacks necessary to make this thing into a house correctly with the correct setbacks. So that's sort of where we are on that. That was kind of fast, but I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now and trying to get it down to the point which made sense to me as to why they're even pursuing this. They've really got two lots of records. The lots of records are 50 by 150, so they can certainly, if they wanted to, tear down that accessory structure, or I suppose they could leave it there and build a house on that lot. And they wouldn't be talking to us tonight. But everything kind of falls out of the whole request, and it's based on the accessory building. So that's sort of my take on it. I don't see that they've arrived yet. So we can do we could drop down on our agenda to do the continuing ed if we want to do that. And we can do that. I was asked by one of your colleagues if we could go over some base information about zoning and subdivisions, and I'm prepared to do that tonight. But it really, Counselor, if we want to do the vote, I suppose we could. It's just,
Any discussion on it?
yeah.
If there's any discussion, you could take the vote. You have identified really the couple of the elements this boils down to really. They wouldn't be here asking this if they weren't attempting to try to remediate the accessory structure. There is that provision, if the improvements exceed 30% of the value, then they're gonna have to raise it anyway. They really, I would encourage them to first go that route, to determine if they really would have to raise it before they, you'll have to vote on it, but it may not change the outcome. But that's all to say, I think you've identified it, is that if they can't get this structure in the form that they want to as exist today for residential or secondary housing, whatever it is, I guess it'd be a primary house on that lot. I think their need for this would probably be rendered moot. I wish they were here.
Right. Well, and the interesting, Counselor, because their remedy is they've got two lots of record.
Right.
So they really could utilize both lots. They'll still get two structures for sale, and so they haven't lost anything. And to try to reclaim that garage / accessory building and make it into a house, I think my opinion is kind of a stretch. If you've gotten out there to be able to look at it, I hope everybody was Was it out?
I see three things that are really badly wrong with it. 2.5 feet to the property line at the back of the building is number one. Number two is they've nailed up some kind of bracing in the back against a tree that is against the fence there in order to hold up that back side of the building. And number three, their neighbor has put up a really goofy-looking little privacy
Fence.
latched fence in order to block that building.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I didn't
Well-
quiz them on that, but you can tell from the location of the fence in their neighbor's yard that it was put up specifically to block that.
Yeah. Well, you know, accessory buildings can be built on lots. There are setback requirements for accessory buildings, and they're not the 25 feet normal. 25 feet normal front and back, 10 on each side is sort of the norm. But we do have two lots of record, and one of them, as I mentioned earlier, has the house wholly on that one lot, Lot 5, and Lot 6 would have been the vacant lot of record, which they certainly, I know that they have bought this if the records at the, that I pulled off let's see, which stack is it? The records that I pulled off from the assessor's office said that the house was bought in, October of last year, and so I'm assuming that they were intending on improving the existing house and then adding that second one as part of their investment, so.
Is anybody living in that house now?
No, the door was wide open when I went by there. It was wide open, so.
One more thing, I
Yeah.
did look up Spartan Investments, and they are primarily a rental company. They seek investors to invest in rental real estate.
Yeah.
So I suspect that they are not looking to flip the house. They're looking to maintain it as a rental investment.
Yeah. Well, it's a house and it's on a lot and it can be occupied and the other lot can be built on, in my opinion. They haven't lost anything. They've got two lots of record and
And they could do that without any,
correct.
Would
Just-
they need to do something about that garage building being on two lots?
They can always give an easement across if they built a house and they had the other house and you had that garage back there, you know, they could do an easement across it on one of the lots or both of the lots. And Counselor, you might advise us on that, but they have to make that decision. I think part of it is if it's not even standing up, it's maybe a dangerous structure. So, but that's all speculation.
No, and that would be going into the housing commission on stage.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it's been before the housing commission or not. I do know they had some complaints about that there were some folks that were kind of squatting in there, vagrants. And when I drove by there one day, the door was wide open for the house. The door for the accessory building was closed. The next time I go by, the house was closed and the accessory building was open. That's when I got to look inside a little bit. I didn't trespass, but from the road I could see it was not much of a structure, but that's for somebody else to determine, not me. So, Counselor, your advice is to hold it?
You're at liberty to take a vote. Anyone can make a motion. It's been properly noticed, publicized, advertised, and it is before you today on the agenda properly. So if you want to table it and postpone it with an opportunity to allow another chance for the applicant to appear, you have that liberty as well.
Anybody else have discussion points? I got discussion. Let's say the lot line change was approved. We're not there yet, but let's say it was. Let's say the structure at the back was compliant. It's not. And we're here at a juncture trying to do what's in the core scope of this panel, which is determine should variance be allowed for like the rear setback on the lot line and stuff. If we were at that juncture, I'd be of the position that I would not be inclined to approve a variance for that, even if the as you view this, the property that joins it to the rear, there's a considerable distance there, but those lot owners are encumbered by these structures up on the property line. So if you had what's currently the bootleg garage converted into halfway to a dwelling, if that was an actual approved residence, that would be essentially right on the property line. I'd be inclined to vote no on a vote to approve the variance on that property line, variance setback. I've got one other panelist that seems to be inclined that direction. So we could spend an inordinate amount of time discussing some of the particulars of this, but if we were to overcome the two big hurdles we're kind of batting around conceptually and get down to, like, if we were to pass those two items and then come down to the lot line variance, it would seem that the panel's inclined to deny it just on that alone, not even considering the other bigger issues upstream of it.
Well, and one of the interesting things is that, we've got a variance, we really got two aspects to the variance. It's not just a single variance, and sometimes we kind of get mixed up, but one of them has to do with lot size, which, unless they get that variance on lot size, it cannot even go to the board of the planning commission and request the plat be approved. So that's one issue. The other one is the setbacks. So if they got the plat approved at planning commission with the reduced lot size, so we have to prove that first. So they go to the planning commission and get the plat approved, subdivision plat approved. That's another hurdle. Then they still got all the variances on setbacks. So then they'd have to come back to us for that. Or we could pass it both together tonight and send it on to planning commission. So
The request, the first request, as you said, that one's got to be, that's the first vote, and if that's a no, that kind of makes the second request kind of null, because we didn't.
Right.
That request is based off redrawing the line.
Correct. Well, yeah, the first request, which is A and you're under new business, is the lot sizes reduction, and that's key to getting the plat approved. Even if they get the lot size reduced and the plat approved, they still would have to get the second, which is B, which is all the setbacks. So there's two different issues that we're having to deal with.
But those lot sizes are these lot sizes, which is not drawing it 250 by 70, or drawing it straight down the middle.
Right.
It's cutting it.
Well, and those that are on that document that was sent to you, Exhibit 1 and 2. Exhibit 1 is really their gold. They've got two existing lots right now that they don't have to do anything with. There's no house encroachment on the lot lines. I mean, it's just what it is. But if they do the flag lot, again, they have to go to planning commission to get the approval for the plat, and that's another hurdle. So, but they can't do that until they get through us first on lot sizes.
We've got the benefit of the city council here. Sequentially, procedurally, do we need to concern ourselves with knocking out one issue prior to going to the next?
It doesn't matter. If there's any reason up here to find a basis for denial, it really doesn't matter which one you think, or which item you would rely upon.
And really, if we approve lot sizes, I think they could do a staff-approved subdivision. This has already started in the subdivision process. I mean, I've seen the plat, and it's got a couple of signatures on it already. So, I mean, that portion of it, they've already started, but it does have to get final approval by the planning commission. But they can't do that until they get the lot sizes squared away. So that's sort of where we are. I had to think through if they really need to be the planning commission first, and I came to the conclusion that no, they don't need to go there first. They need to come to us first to get the lot sizes, because the planning commission can only approve it subject to our approval of the lot sizes.
I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion, we refuse the request that they made.
based on,
based on the lot sizes.
okay, the reduced lot sizes. Yeah,
They've got 2 lots now that are approved. There are lots of record,
right.
and if they change those, in East Ridge, you gotta have 10,000.
Well, that's why they're requesting the
no.
variance. Yeah.
And personally, if I owned the property, I'd tear the building down in the back and just keep the one that's a lot of record and build on it. Forget that, trying to improve that shack.
Okay, so we have a motion, let me reframe it. We have a motion that, to deny both requests for the, lot size reduction. Well, that's really all we need to deny, I guess. But let's include the, setbacks also.
I would include them because with it being a lot of record, they could potentially still want, it's unlikely, but they could still want those setbacks.
Right.
So I would take them both up.
Okay.
That would need to be phrased in the form of the person that made the motion.
Well, you could do, it's really 2 items of request here, 5A and 5B.
Yeah, so yours was based on the lot size?
Right.
Okay, so we'll take that motion first so we don't confuse the issue. So the, first, that motion was to deny the request, for lot size reduction.
You have a
Lot size
second
reduction.
over here.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Okay. I'll accept, let's see, we'll just do it by voice. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's go to the second portion of that then. These are all the zoning and setbacks.
I
Which,
propose a motion to deny the application for setback variance,
and your reason?
the proximity to the lot line.
Okay, I have a,
I'll second.
a motion, do have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, okay. Oh, we're getting we're getting a gathering out here. And it's not because of us, is it?
Mr. Chairman, there may be a request that y'all do continuing learning to be done in the back room.
We can do that.
Okay, I just thought about it, didn't realize it's 6:10 already.
Right, okay. Do we have a room, oh, are you gonna be, you're not gonna be available, are you?
Do we need to be on the record for continuing ed?
Yeah, we do, we do. What if I talk real fast?
Let's go to
Get it over.
Okay, what time, your meeting's at 6:30?
6:30.
Okay, well, I'll just talk fast. Thank you. Melissa, did you have, did we have the handouts?
Find it anywhere, and when I tried to print it, the zoning map, that we
Okay.
had, it would not cooperate.
Okay, well, everybody got a copy of these documents. Okay, we'll start, as you know, we are required to do continuing ed, and, one of your cohorts, I won't say his name, but his name is Eric, asked, if we could go over some basic stuff on the zoning, how zoning kind of came about. So I did prepare some items for continuing ed. The first page, if you'll look at your document that was sent out, do you have that? Here you go. It should have a TCA, yeah, you got it,
Got it?
yeah. If you'll look on that first page, this is, we'll talk, given the time, we'll just talk about a few of these items. But the first one is, if you'll look at your first page, this is out of the zoning ordinance, your East Ridge zoning ordinance. And it has the Tennessee Code reference for zoning and subdivision. And this is primary documentation. This is the basis that the city of East Ridge uses to have a zoning and subdivision ordinance. I've got it. Oh, you've got it? Okay. Let's see. So the next one, I've got it's called Gilbert Law Summaries. It's a public land use controls chapter on property. And if you'll look at that first page, the Tennessee Code was based years ago on some primary documentation that there was a lot of issues with building codes back in the day. As the cities got more inhabited, issues came up with just straight building codes. You know, is a building safe to live in? Is a house safe to live in? Is a multifamily house safe to live in? And there were a lot of issues with burning down buildings, and there was no codes about exits and all that. So a lot of the police powers that we'll see that were utilized that are constitutional were developed. So you'd have zoning ordinances, you'd have subdivision regulations, and you could also have eminent domain, which the zoning ordinances is what we work with. We don't work with subdivision regulations, although I did reference it in our case tonight. And then eminent domain, of course, is, you know, City of East Ridge can, if they need to, for public purposes, need to build a street, and they can condemn property, give them a fair market value for that property, and be able to build the street. So that's for the public welfare. And those cases, eminent domain cases, kind of have been going along for a while, and sometimes folks don't feel like they're for the public good. I remember a case up in Northeast where they wanted to build a casino, and they condemned all this property for a casino, and then of course the city sold it, the land to somebody for a casino use, and the federal courts held that was meeting a public policy, a public purpose. So, you know, sometimes they're a stretch. But anyway, number 2 on first page, and number 2 here, it talks about zoning powers, and it does have limitations. They're the 5th and 14th.
Penley or Penley, key/1.
Excuse me.
Is the Lord calling you home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, let me call you back.
So anyway, the 5th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, one is, 5th Amendment covers the taking issue, due process. 14th, that's more federal. 14th is for states. Again, basing zoning ordinances are sometimes challenged because they're a taking issue. You know, I can't do with my property what I want to do. So the question got to be for zoning, and it comes to, there are several cases, and we'll talk about one of them tonight. But the case got to be, well, I can't do what I want to do, so that's a taking. I'm going to challenge your zoning ordinance. And so if you go to page 4, kind of the key issue, this issue came to a head with the Village of Euclid versus Ambler Realty, mostly referred to as Euclid v. Ambler. So if you'll look in this page, there's a lot of, I've written a lot of text on there, but it really goes down to, is a zoning a valid exercise of police power? And that sort of goes to the question is, a zoning ordinance has to be based, and if you'll look on your first page of that, this first page that has TCA on it, it's all about public purpose, regulating use of land and height of building and size and open space. The classic in school was always, you have the pig pen in the middle of your residential area. Is that a healthy situation? Is it a nuisance? And, you know, so there was a lot of reasons that you wanted to have some zoning restrictions in your community. And East Ridge probably had I'd have to look again on that, but it was probably developed in the 50s. They had a zoning ordinance when I started working with them that was based on kind of 50s ordinance standards, and we updated it later on to the newer ordinance. But again, government has a right and really a requirement to enact regulations for health, safety, and welfare of the public. And the police powers give that government the ability to enforce these regulations. And again, that's zoning and building codes and health standards. And that is delegated through this Tennessee code to local governments. So that's how that's why we're here. And we're appointed, but we only have a certain amount of authority. We're an administrative board, and we have a certain amount of authority. We can't go beyond those boundaries that are established in the state law. So they give us authority, but limit it to certain boundaries. Anyway, I think we're going to call it a night tonight on that. We'll get into a little bit more. I've got a lot more prepared for this continuing ed, but basically it's state law it was tested in federal court by the Supreme Court in several different cases, and basically Ambler Realty has never been overturned as a standard. So it's a long-standing case. It was done in the 1920s, long-standing case, and it's 100 years old that they've really been enforcing zoning and subdivision regs. But I noticed the case we had tonight, the plat book was Plat Book 9, which was way back. It was either the late 20s or early 30s that plat book was recorded. I never did get the date on it, but so it's the City of East Ridge was founded in 1921. So it was just starting to develop. There was a lot of these. Lots of record out here that are small that don't meet the standard that we have today. So there's always going to be issues that come up because of things like this. But we have standards, and we have to limit what we can make decisions on. So our audience has gone to sleep. So we will.
Let me apologize for that phone call.
No, that's fine.
I have a great-grandson, 2 years old, that's at the point of death.
Oh,
And they're expecting by Wednesday.
oh, sorry.
He was born deaf, blind, and has seizures daily. And
Well, Mac, we'll keep him in our prayers. We'll keep your family in our prayers.
yeah,
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
And as far as I know, we don't have a case set for December? Okay. If you will let the applicant know, Melissa? Okay. And if there's any questions about that? I guess-
I was just voting on the motion.
Oh, well, let's vote on the motion. All in favor of retiring for the evening, say aye. Aye. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you for your audience. We appreciate it.